are on page 105, I believe. We'd been talking about the ignorance of the brahmachari and the Nagasanyasins in, let's see, where are we? We are with the Maharana of in Jaipur, in Ajmer, in Udaipur. Chittor they were in. Yeah, so they're just out. Swami Akhandananda is just outside of Udaipur, which is one of the prettiest cities in Rajasthan. Everything is, they have a big lake and they have a palace in the middle of the lake, and everything is, very much, you're familiar with the Rajasthani decorations. It's the bedspreads and the things that come over in great quantity. A lot of beadwork and camels and all kinds of exotic things in Rajasthan. Okay, so he has been staying near the temple, and he was very much upset with the Maharana. When he criticized him for not taking care of the people who lived in his domain. So we will start on page 105, the first paragraph. In due course, the Maharana received a report of what took place at the temple. This is when he told the Maharana, the chief priest asked, "What do you mean the Maharana's children are hungry? He only has one child." And Akhandananda meant all of his subjects. In due course, the Maharana received a report of what took place at the temple and gave the order that no official should meet the monk or have anything to do with him. The headmaster of the Udaipur school met Swami Akhandananda and said, "The Maharana has heard everything that you said about him. He is annoyed. No important person will dare to come here. Besides this, a conspiracy is underway to have you put into an underground prison, so be careful." The Swami took heed of the headmaster's warning and remained vigilant. Whenever the brahmacharan heard any noise in the vicinity of the temple, he would begin to shout, "There they come to catch him. We could have got alms for 8 to 10 persons, but instead we are to be harassed in this way." Swami Akhandananda got along for a day or two with what he received from the chief minister's nephew. But then he too informed the Swami that he no longer dared to be of help. Nor could the Swami, for fear of the Maharana's displeasure, accept any alms from other citizens either. Swami Akhandananda's clothes were now in tatters, and he could no longer go out of the temple precincts. To crown it all, the antagonistic behavior of the brahmacharan who had given him shelter reached a new high. In these trying circumstances, the Swami remembered Hari Singh Ladkani of Jaipur, who had once made him a generous offer. He had said, "If at any time you are in need of my help, kindly let me know." The Swami wrote a letter to him informing him of his difficulties. At once, Hari Singh sent a draft. The brahmacharan was very gladly signed and accepted the money. Now there was provision for Swami Akhandananda's food and clothing. He cooked his own food and gave a dinner for the bills. I don't know, there was a footnote, but they didn't write it. Who had once helped Maharana Pratap Singh in his struggle for freedom. At last, the long-expected letter from Swamiji came. "Be up and doing. Go to the doors of the poor and the lowborn in the city of Khetri. Give them lessons, and in addition to that, teach them orally things of geography. Go at times to the villages, instruct them, impart them knowledge. Work, worship, and knowledge. Combine these three, and there will be purification of the heart. Otherwise, all will be in vain. The ochre cloth is not for luxury. It is the symbol of noble activity. You are to dedicate your body, mind, and speech to the good of the world. You have read, "Let the mother and father be your God," but I say, "Let the poor, the ignorant be your gods." Service rendered to them is the highest form of religion. What more is there to say? On receipt of Swamiji's letter, Swami Akhandananda, with joy and enthusiasm, resolved to dedicate himself to the work. He went to Khetri first with the intention of improving the entrance school managed by the Khetri government, which had only 80 students and no qualified teachers. Visiting every house in Khetri, the Swami explained to the people the utility of education. In this way, he succeeded in enrolling some 200 students. As a result of his activities, families who had 4 boys now sent 3 to school, and those who had 3 sent 2, leaving 1 in the home to look after household affairs. Furthermore, as the Swami made his rounds, he discovered that in Khetri there were about 500 families of slaves called Gola. They were born of slaves in the harem, and their duties were to wait upon the officers, courtiers, and guests. On the sacred Rakhi Bandhan Day, which is the full moon day in the month of July-August, Shravana, no distinction is made between high and low castes. Swami Akhandananda seized this opportunity to tell the Raja, "Your Highness, if these boy slaves of yours are given an education, will they not be more useful to you?" The Raja agreed that they should be educated. The guardians of the boys were very happy also, despite the fact that they would have to forfeit the pound of millet regularly allotted to them for each boy's work. The guardians agreed to send the boys to school if the grant were continued. Again, the Raja agreed. So, as some 50 or 60 boys, 5 to 16 years of age, stood before the Raja, he gave the order. From tomorrow onwards, they will all go to school. The Raja's attitude gave Swami Akhandananda a feeling of great satisfaction. In the meantime, an officer of the Raja appeared at the court and said, "Your Highness, please reconsider this your order. It will greatly affect the office work." Hearing this from a ranking officer, the Raja responded, "Very well, they shall not go to school." Swami Akhandananda had just sat for his meal when the news came. He burst into tears and hurried off to the Raja. In anxiety, the Raja asked, "Is it you? At this time? Have you had your meal?" With tears in his eyes, Swami Akhandananda said, "You have passed an order, but the next moment I learned it has been rescinded." He explained that the boys were not really needed at the office. He himself had seen them attend to their duties, snapping their fingers when an officer yawned, or carrying an officer's portfolio to his home, acting as body servants. That was the extent of their work. The Raja burst out laughing and said to the officer, "Can you refute what the Babaji says?" Words failed the officer. The Raja then said, "Please have your dinner, Babaji. I shall pass the order." "Shall pass, Your Highness. It must be passed here and now, or I refuse to take any food," said Swami Akhandananda firmly. At once the order was passed, and so at last the students were assembled. Qualified teachers were brought from outside to improve the teaching. A Bengali youth, an M.A. from Meerut, was appointed headmaster. A debating society was soon formed, in which boys read and discussed articles that they themselves wrote. Eminent persons were by and by invited to address the school. While at Palaganeshji's temple, Swami Akhandananda felt a desire to go on a pilgrimage to some of the historically important places of the area. Thus, at the end of Chaturmasya, he again left for Udaipur. He did not stay in that city long, but went on to Srinadwara via Ekalinga, where he was the guest of Raghunathji Bhandari. He met the Shalagram Vyasaji, the local chief minister, who had returned from England, and used his library. Raghunathji's youngest son was more given to playing than to attending his lessons. Observing this, the Swami asked Bhandaraji the reason for it. He answered, "I have spent a lot on the education of my elder son, so I am rather indifferent to this one." His reply made Swami Akhandananda feel that he should take charge of the boy's education. Soon, some 10 other boys also became his charges. A Bengali youth with an English education, who was known to the Swami, was given responsibility for teaching the group. Swami Akhandananda himself taught Hindi to the young man, so that he could speak to the boys in their mother tongue. At the insistence of Shalagram Vyasaji, and with his help, there was soon a Middle English school. With the young man in charge, and feeling satisfied that his educational program was not only established, but steadily advancing, Swami Akhandananda set off for Omkarnath. Holy Omkarnath is on the river Narmada. Here, Swami Akhandananda met a learned Paramahamsa who was well versed in the Vedas. He went next to Indore, and sitting on the same asana for 18 days, he read the whole original Valmiki Ramayana. While reading the epic, he had for a number of days the constant inner awareness of music, as if a string was vibrating within him. There flashed before his mind's eye pictures of Dandakaranya, the Panchavati, Valmiki's hermitage, and the entire drama of Rama and Sita's life. Thus he was absorbed in the thoughts of ancient India. Swami Akhandananda then went on to Ujjain, which is replete with the glories of a later age. Here, at the sites of bygone temples and dwellings, he again envisioned one event after another in the pageant of India's long history. This part of Rajasthan, though occupied by the British, these states were left in control of the local Maharajas. So it was not like Bengal, where the residents were came too much under the reign of British occupation. After visiting Ujjain and Ratlam, the Swami went to Chittor and Jaipur. From Jaipur, he returned to Khetri. The minister to the Raja of Khetri, Munshi Jagmohan Lal, accompanied him. While traveling, he wrote letters from Udaipur and some other places requesting the Raja of Khetri to advise his officers in the setting up of a permanent education department. Subsequently, the department was established and the schools were opened in 3 or 4 villages. Under the patronage of the Raja, a Sanskrit school had been opened in Khetri, where 20 to 25 students were receiving primary lessons only, preparatory to the study of the Vedas. They were being taught Sanskrit grammar, lexicon study, poetry, and astrology. Such learning came to little good. The Swami explained this to the Raja and pleaded for the introduction of real Vedic studies, along with other auxiliary studies. Gradually, the school became an ideal Vedic school. The Raja endowed a charity fund which supplied books to the scholars. Soon, the time of the Raja's birthday arrived. At this festival, the Raja, dressed in splendid garments, sat surrounded by his chiefs and high officers, accepting their tributes. The queen sat in the inner court with the wives of the officials, accepting similar tributes. Being a sannyasin, Swami Akhandananda did not enter the pavilion, the pandal, but watched from outside. He saw how the poor folk were prevented by the sepoys from having even a glimpse of the festivities. Once more, in the afternoon, he saw the courtiers holding their own court, accepting tributes from the poor. Money was heaped up before them also. In previous times, this is an aside, in previous times, the Raja sat on a scale, and the other side of the scale was his weight was matched with jewels and money. So these were some of the richest provinces in India. After sunset, the Swami came to the court and said to the Raja, "Your Highness, I have been much pained today." "By what, Maharaj?" asked the Raja. Swami Akhandananda then gave a lucid description of the poor people who had tried to enter the pavilion and of the rough handling they had received from the sepoys. He ended saying, "You take pride in being descended from Ramchandra, who banished his most beloved Sita to please his subjects, while you do not even allow your subjects to see you, not to speak of permitting their presence at the durbar," official reception. The Swami wept as he spoke. The court was speechless in silence. The Raja broke the silence, saying, "Today I have learned a great lesson. A false notion of mine has been removed." At once he called an officer, ordering him to write down in the book of memoranda, "From next year onwards, I shall hold court with all my subjects present and accept their tributes myself." Some years later, Swami Vivekananda happened to be present at one of these durbars and was gratified to see that all people, high and low, allowed to gather there. Swami Akhandananda now devoted himself to the service of the sick and ailing. He toured the villages and brought patients to the hospital, arranging proper treatment for them. He tried to improve the state's agriculture, and as a first step, arranged for bringing informative magazines on farming and agriculture. He was told by the farmers that the scavengers sold the bones of their dead animals to foreign traders. Since bone dust is a good fertilizer and replenishes the soil, the Swami advised the Raja to see that in the future the bones were kept for local use. After Swami Akhandananda had spent 5 or 6 months at Khetri, that's quite a bit to accomplish in 5 or 6 months, he went to the village of Chirara, where some of the important merchants lived. Here, without too much effort, he was able to establish a school. He visited the better-known villages of Rajputana, also encouraging landlords to devote more of their resources to the welfare of their tenants. With this same purpose, he went to Alsasar, Malsasar, Junjun, Surajgarh, and other villages, finally arriving at Jaipur. Here he quite unexpectedly met two of his brothers, Swami Abhedananda and Nirmalananda, which gave him great joy. Having heard of Swami Akhandananda's change in outlook and of his new activities and experiences, Swami Abhedananda said to him, "When I last saw you, you were constantly contemplating on God, the very embodiment of austerity. But what a change has come over you in these past 5 years. Now you are a patriot, a statesman, a philanthropist. What a wonderful transformation." Swami Akhandananda's inclination was to stay on in Rajputana for some time longer, carrying on with his work of service. But having heard of the approaching birth anniversary celebration of Sri Ramakrishna at Dakshineshwar, he felt a great desire to attend it and be back at the Mat once more. So from Jaipur he went to Alwar. Swamiji had written to him asking him to organize a group there, composed of the local devotees and disciples. For this purpose, he stayed with Govinda Sahai for 8 or 9 days and formed a society which held meetings every week. There he went to Delhi, and after spending some days there, started for the Mat via Etawah, Allahabad, and Varanasi, reaching his destination at the end of 1895. Now, the next chapter, chapter 9, is the Alambazar Mat. Any questions on what Swamiji was, of what Swami Akhandananda was doing in Rajasthan, in that area, or comments? Okay. At Alambazar Mat. After 5 long years, Swami Akhandananda was happy to be among his brother monks again. It was from Baranagar Mat that he had set out with Swamiji for the Himalayas, and now the Mat was at Alambazar, near Dakshineshwar. Almost all the monastic disciples of Sri Ramakrishna, including Swami Ramakrishnananda, Shashi, were then living at the Mat. Swamis Abhedananda and Nirmalananda had just returned from Jaipur. Swamis Brahmananda, Yogananda, Sardananda, and Trigunatitananda went to stay now and then at Balaram Babu's house in Calcutta. Some educated youths had begun to frequent the Mat, which gladdened Swami Akhandananda's heart. The rent of the house at Alambazar was the same as at Baranagar, only 10 rupees per month. 2-storied, built around a courtyard, and having a few rooms, it had been abandoned for some time, and was thought to be haunted. Swami Ramakrishnananda gave Swami Akhandananda an account of how the Mat had fared during the last few years. There had been times when the young monks were in want of even a few pice to prepare offerings for the Master. At these times, Swami Ramakrishnananda found that invariably some devotee would send sugar or a quantity of sweets or some gift necessary for the worship of the Master. The Nageshwar champak, a yellow flower of the magnolia family, was a favorite flower of Sri Ramakrishna. He used to say Srimati Radha's body exudes the fragrance of the Nageshwar champak. At the very sight of the flower, he would pass into samadhi. Swami Brahmananda wanted to plant a champak tree at Dakshineshwar, but there were no plants to be found in the area. One day, Swami Ramakrishnananda expressed a wish to offer some of these flowers to the Master, and mentioned a well-known garden where a tree might be found. Swami Akhandananda went there accompanied by Swami Subodhananda. Not finding the tree there, Swami Akhandananda went along to another garden at Satpukur near Gugudunga. He found the tree there, but it had only just begun to bud, and it would be 2 or 3 weeks before flowers were available, the gardener told him. Swami Akhandananda had no intention of returning to the mott without the flowers. So he spent days wandering about the villages near Barasat to acquire some idea about the condition of the people in that area. There he saw orchards overgrown with weeds and ponds, large and small, choked with hyacinth. These ponds provided drinking water for the villagers, and from them also milkmen took water to dilute milk they would sell in Calcutta. Swami Akhandananda was pained to see all this, but he could do nothing more than inform the villagers of the unethical and unsanitary conditions. He was back at the Satpukur garden in time to see the champak tree in full blossom, its delightful fragrance filling the air. "You have come just in time," said the gardener. "In a day or two the petals will have fallen to the ground." The Swami was given a large quantity of the flowers, wrapped in a plantain leaf, which he happily carried on his head to the mott. When he arrived at the mott, Swami Ramakrishna, Nanda, and the other brothers were overjoyed to see him with such a large quantity of flowers. He told them how he had passed the days while he was away, and they all enjoyed sharing his experiences. In March 1896, the birth anniversary of the Master was celebrated quietly at the Alam Bazar Mott. Almost all of that Master's householder devotees were present. The public festival of the Master's birthday, Mahotsava, to be celebrated on a grand scale, was to be held at Dakshineshwar in a few days, and preparations were underway. The question arose as to which of the food offerings were to be distributed. Opinions varied. Some of the devotees thought there should be a distinction of general and special offerings. The sannyasins of the mott thought that everyone should receive the same prasad without distinction of caste or social position. Swami Akhandananda, referring to the occasion later, wrote, "We were all of a democratic outlook. Discrimination was wholly unacceptable. I went to Balaram Babu's house and said to Swami Brahmananda, 'Raja, is it true that you have approved of distributing 2 classes of prasada?' Maharaj replied, 'Yesterday the householder devotees were speaking of such an arrangement, but I gave no opinion. Yes, there will be, as you say, the same prasad for all, Buni Khichdi.'" Swami Akhandananda returned happily to the mott with this news. And I think we'll stop there because we're going to have a description of the celebration. Any questions now? Any comments? Okay. And let's hope that everyone has got everything prepared for Christmas, and that we'll see. Oh, Elizabeth has a question. How do we get those flowers? I'm not sure. I know here we offer magnolias at Dakshineshwar, and Swami Brahmananda planted Magnolia grandifloras at Belur Mott, and those are offered here. Swami Prabhavananda planted magnolias both in Hollywood and in Santa Barbara, and we do offer those, the huge magnolia flowers, not the Japanese magnolia or any of these great big ones that have kind of a all-pervading lemony, highly perfumed fragrance. And we get them when they bloom. I don't know if you can buy them. Vrajapani, do you know, or do you know, Durga?
I've never seen them for sale.
I've never seen them for sale, and I've never seen them at florists. But actually, now is the time they bloom in Santa Barbara. They're starting to bloom. So, of course, our blooming season is so far off, it's not even funny. Who knows what they do in normal circumstances? Okay. Let's see. I don't have the schedule, but Vajraprana's lecture on Sunday will be Mary and Jesus, or Jesus and Mary. Jesus and Mary. Followed by a coffee open house at the convent at 12. We will have the gospel reading on the 23rd, as usual, at 5 o'clock here in the temple. So I hope to see you all.
I think you have a question from Zoom.
Uh-huh.
I just had it. What is Buni Kachuri? I know what Kitchery is, but Buni Kachuri?
I have no idea. It's probably a certain recipe or a certain kind of doll. I have never heard of it before.
I mentioned these sing-along Christmas carols. They can sing along in their homes.
I'm sorry?
Mention that sing-along Christmas carols.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Then Christmas Eve at Vespers times, about 6:15, we'll have the sing-along carols, and you're welcome to sing along at home with us.
Bobby reads the gospel.
We have the gospel reading interspersed with the carols as usual. When Leanne's daughter Ava was here, we had a nativity pageant, but we don't have a Sunday school right now, so we don't have enough kids. We've got to recruit children. Because the Christmas pageant was really a lot of fun.
That was fun. It was so fun. I hope you do it again.
I hope we do too. It was really fun. Okay, if there are no other questions or comments, Merry Christmas to everyone, and we'll see you maybe on Saturday, and maybe again, well, I won't see you Sunday, but Vajraprana may. Merry Christmas, Happy New Year, stay healthy, and we'll end with a chant. Om Shanti, 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 Hari Om Tat Sat, Sri Ramakrishna Arpanamastu. Okay.
Thank you, Krishna Pranam.